Today's video, I'm going to cover the new summoners, and basically just after reviewing my video from yesterday and looking at what cards I've been purchasing, I kind of made a weird realization when looking at some of the prices recently, and that's, I don't know why, but there's a huge price difference between, so these are the common summoners, and obviously what's unique about them is they don't give you any bonus stats, but they enable you to dual wield both sets of minions and monsters from both decks. And there is quite a big difference of nearly 20% from the most expensive to the least expensive. And yeah, basically let's get into that. And what's most unique about it is that for some weird reason, when looking at the new summoners, when looking at the new monsters and the new playstyles that they've intended for the different decks to be played, I automatically gravitated towards water and light. And typically my three favorites have always been fire, earth, and water. And I always despise death and light. And obviously back when I first started playing the game with only a limited selection of summoners, and I'm talking the Untamed and the beta ones, and this was even before Azure Dice, there was like, wow, this is very noisy. Let's just look at some of the rares, for example. You kind of saw, when looking at the older summoners, you kind of saw that fire was this hyper-aggressive, heavily melee-focused deck. Earth was very, very beefy, very focused on your HP of monsters, but very little armor. In fact, when the Wizard of the Eastwood came out, they took away more armor in the game. And then water was this amazing like magic deck or anti-magic deck, and then death was this weird like counter deck. You would just guess what your opponent was playing and just take away their archers or take away their melee damage. And then life was kind of like meant to be this healy, same thing as nature, plus 1 HP, plus 1 armor, like the opposite of death, where if death hurts and cripples the enemy, life enables you and heal and like buffs you up, but not your damage. It just buffs you up and makes you big and strong and tanky. And I didn't like this playstyle because it was far more beneficial to be the aggressor in Splinterlands than the play defensive. So yeah, quickly ran away from that. And then also if you just look at the epic summoners, not the epics, if you look at the legendaries kind of just dug deeper into the playstyles, and life became still heavily focused on HP, but then with the added ability of archers, so you kind of just saw as earth is the archer deck, life is still this amazing buffy type deck, water became a little bit more anti-archers, but that was just one of its legendaries, I suppose, but its other summoner was just heavily focused on magic, fire is just super aggressive, and then death was always still counter the enemy, like just that was it, cripple the enemy. But with the new Chaos Legion direction, we have kind of seen a new shift towards making life the archer deck, and death is still counter the enemy. I really didn't like that they just maintained fire to be this melee deck. They kind of shifted, so they basically shifted one over. So instead of like earth being the archer deck, it became the magic deck. Instead of water being the magic deck, it became the melee deck as well. And then life got given archers. The summoners, the epic, the legendary ones, I'm not going to hold too much against them because a lot of the different creators created their own ones. Obviously they had complete influence on the art, and then they had some influence on the different abilities and direction that they wanted to go, but you can kind of see that Earth got a little bit of shatter, a little bit of void, so it became a little more counter. Water definitely dug into the melee with reach and trample. Life became what it was always, just a buff yourself type thing, so it didn't stray too far from its original path. Fire was just speed and aggression, and then death was dodge, resurrect, so it wasn't so much like counter the enemy, but it was still nothing too aggressive, nothing too exciting in my opinion. But with Rebellion, this is where it's getting a little bit more spicy, because what we're seeing here is, looking at the res, we've now seen fire do a complete shift. It now gives dispel, or it gives anti-magic. We see death is still being very similar with -2 HP or the reflection. Water gets the +2 ranged and then the +2 shield. Earth is getting the melee or the poison. Life is getting the speed, which is in my opinion very aggressive, or the heal, which is very fitting for life. And then dragon is getting the lookout and the ambush. So what just interested me is that I automatically gravitated towards life for the first time, and it seems that a lot of people and a lot of you guys agree the same. And I think the outliers here are the two most expensive like common summoners are the water ones. So I think water is probably the most popular, if not considered one of the better decks right now, just because based on a price perspective. And if you look at the rares, obviously a lot of people agree that the number one rare summoner at the moment has to be the wolf with the speed or the heal. It's just too good. And then the worst one right now is the fire at -2 magic, and that's just kind of how Splinterlands is. It's always better to buff your units because you're in control of your deck. You're not really in control of the enemy's deck, so being able to nerf them, like if you pick -2 magic and you can't really see the enemy's deck like before, it's kind of, it gets iffy. Or if you take away 2 HP from 2 units, I wonder if you can instantly kill. I should play around more. I really wonder if you can instantly kill a monster if it has 2 HP and you just take away 2 HP. I think that'd be really cool actually. Yeah, once again, I do need to get more into it. But yeah, I was just, one of my little observations. Like fire seems to be not as desirable right now compared to water. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you enjoying the new summoners? Which ones are your favorite? Which abilities are you loving? Which abilities are you hating? And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers!